Imagine this. You stand at the peak you've spent a lifetime climbing. The air is thin here, sharp with the metallic taste of victory. Below you, cities sprawl like circuits on a motherboard, their lights pulsing with the dreams of millions still scrambling upward. You've outmaneuvered rivals, sacrificed relationships, and silenced every whisper of doubt. Your name is etched into the marble of legacy. But as you turn from the view, a chill creeps into your bones. The room behind you, a penthouse of glass and steel, is empty. Not just vacant, but hollow, as if the walls themselves are hungry. Your reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows fractures into 1,000 shards, each one asking the same silent question: was it worth it? This is the dark riddle of ambition. The same force that carved civilizations from wilderness, that birthed symphonies and sent humans to the stars, has a shadow twin, a hungering thing that consumes souls like coal fed to a furnace. You know its whispers: one more deal, one more title, one more conquest. But when does the ladder end? And what happens when you realize you've been chaining your humanity to each rung? Consider the CEO who collapses at his desk at 3 a.m., heart stuttering, clutching a bottle of amphetamines and a spreadsheet that promises more. The politician who sells her ethics to pass legislation she once swore to destroy, her initials now engraved on a law that poisons the water her grandchildren drink. The artist who abandons his visceral, messy masterpieces to produce soulless NFTs, each pixel a tombstone for his authenticity. These are not failures of character. They are rituals in the temple of ambition, where the altar demands blood as tribute. Here's the paradox. Ambition is the engine of human progress, yet it thrives on a lie, the promise that enough exists. History's greatest minds have grappled with this dissonance. Nietzsche warned, "He who climbs upon the highest mountains laughs at all tragedies, real or imaginary." But what he didn't say is that the climber's laughter echoes hollow in the thin air of success. Schopenhauer pierced closer. Life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. Ambition, then, is the delusion that we can stop the pendulum's arc. Why do we keep climbing? Is it fear of mediocrity, that gnawing dread of being ordinary in a world that worships extraordinary? Or is it deeper, older, coded into our bones? The ancients told of Icarus, whose wax wings melted because he flew too close to the sun. But the real tragedy wasn't his fall. It was his father, Daedalus, who survived, condemned to live with the knowledge that he built the wings that killed his son. Modern ambition is a hereditary curse, passed down through generations: achieve or be erased. Yet something is shifting. A 2023 study at Harvard's Center for Human Flourishing found that 68% of high achievers describe their lives as meaningless, despite wealth, status, and accolades. Their brains, scanned under fMRI, lit up identically to those of chronic pain patients when asked to reflect on their personal relationships. Ambition, it seems, isn't just a psychological state, it's a neurological cage. The prefrontal cortex, that overachiever of evolution, becomes a tyrant, hijacking dopamine circuits until the chase itself rewires the mind. You no longer want, you need, and needs unchecked turn into voids. But wait, aren't we taught that ambition is virtue? Schools grade it, corporations promote it, religions sanctify it. Be all you can be, hisses the serpent in every self-help bestseller. Yet the poison is in the dose. The Aztecs believed the sun would die without human sacrifice. What cosmic disaster do we fear will strike if we stop feeding our ambitions? The answer is buried in the darkest soil of the human psyche. Without achievement, do I exist at all? You feel it now, don't you? The weight of the question, the way it slithers into your ribs and nests there. This isn't abstract philosophy. It's the silent scream behind every all-nighter, every strategic marriage, every suppressed act of kindness deemed unproductive. The 21st century's grand irony: we've never had more tools to succeed, yet we've never been more enslaved to the definition of success. But here's what they don't tell you, the hook hidden in the hero's journey. Ambition's darkest trick isn't the sacrifices it demands. It's the way it convinces you that the hunger itself is holy, that rest is sin, that love, art, and stillness are currencies to be spent, not treasures to be held. You become Sisyphus, but with a twist. You chose the boulder, you polished it, named it, and convinced yourself it's lighter than air. So let me ask you, really ask you, as the city lights blur into a smudge of gold below your empty penthouse, What gods are you feeding with your ambitions? And when the feast is over, will they thank you? Or will they lick their lips and demand another sacrifice? The answer waits in the shadows of our next chapter, where we'll dissect the hidden machinery of ambition, thread by thread, through the minds of those who dared to stare into its abyss and what stared back. To understand the dark side of ambition, we must first trace its roots, not in the soil of society, but in the labyrinth of the human psyche. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a theater. On stage, the actors are your desires, fears, and aspirations, performing a script written by forces you can barely comprehend. Ambition is the lead actor, but who is the playwright? Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who plunged into the depths of the unconscious, called it the shadow, the part of ourselves we refuse to see. The shadow isn't evil, it's simply the unacknowledged. And ambition in its most insidious form is often the shadow's masterpiece. It convinces us that we are striving for greatness, when in truth we are running from something far more primal, the fear of insignificance. Jung wrote, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." Ambition becomes a mask, a way to outrun the shadow. But the faster you run, the closer it follows. You build empires not because you love the work, but because you fear the void that would yawn open if you stopped. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who dared to stare into the abyss, saw ambition as a double-edged sword. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he proclaimed, "Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Superman, a rope over an abyss." Ambition, then, is the tension on that rope. It pulls us toward transcendence, but it also threatens to snap under the weight of our own expectations. Nietzsche's warning is clear. He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. But why does ambition so often turn monstrous? The answer lies in its relationship with identity. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist who declared, "Hell is other people," might have added, "Hell is also the self we create to impress them." Ambition is not just a desire for achievement, it's a performance. We craft personas, the visionary leader, the tireless innovator, the self-made icon, and then chain ourselves to them. The tragedy is that the more successful the performance, the more we lose touch with the authentic self beneath the mask. Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and author of Man's Search for Meaning, offered a profound insight. What man actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal. But here's the catch. The goal must be worthwhile. Modern ambition often conflates worth with worthiness. We chase promotions, followers, and accolades, mistaking them for meaning. Frankl called this the existential vacuum, a life devoid of purpose, filled instead with the noise of achievement. And then there's Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, who saw ambition as a cruel joke played by the will to live. "The life of every individual," he wrote, "is really always a tragedy, but gone through in detail, it has the character of a comedy." Ambition, in Schopenhauer's view, is the punchline. We chase desires as if their fulfillment will bring peace, only to find that satisfaction is fleeting. The moment one goal is achieved, another takes its place. The treadmill never stops. But ambition's roots go deeper than philosophy. They reach into the very wiring of our brains. Neuroscientists have identified the dopamine reward system as the engine of ambition. Dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, is not released when we achieve a goal, but when we anticipate it. This is why the chase is so addictive. The closer we get to the prize, the more dopamine floods our system, creating a feedback loop that keeps us striving. But like any addiction, it demands more and more to achieve the same high. Cultural conditioning amplifies this biological drive. From childhood, we are taught that success is linear. Good grades lead to good colleges, which lead to good jobs, which lead to good lives. But what if the map is wrong? Aldous Huxley in Brave New World envisioned a society where ambition was replaced by contentment, a dystopia of soma-induced bliss. Yet our world is the opposite, a dystopia of relentless striving, where contentment is seen as failure. The hidden problem, then, is not ambition itself, but the way it has been hijacked by our shadows, our fears, our biology, and our culture. It has become a proxy for meaning, a substitute for self-worth, and a trap disguised as a ladder. But here's the twist. The trap is not inescapable. the same forces that bind us can also set us free. To understand how, we must descend deeper into the unseen consequences of ambition, where the true cost of our striving is revealed. Imagine a forest where every tree is a person, their branches reaching desperately for the sun. Some grow tall and mighty, their leaves blocking the light for those below. Others twist and contort, their roots shallow, their trunks hollow. This is the ecosystem of ambition, a competitive landscape where the cost of growth is often hidden beneath the soil. The unseen consequences of ambition are not just personal. They ripple through families, communities, and societies. They are the silent fractures in relationships, the erosion of mental health, and the cultural normalization of burnout. They are the price we pay for a life lived in pursuit of more. Let's start with the personal toll. Ambition, when unchecked, becomes a form of self-erasure. You sacrifice sleep for productivity, relationships for networking, and joy for achievement. Over time, these sacrifices accumulate like interest on a debt. The body rebels first. Chronic fatigue, insomnia, and stress-induced illnesses. Then the mind follows. Anxiety becomes a constant companion, whispering that you're never doing enough. Depression lurks in the shadows, waiting for the moment you pause long enough to feel the emptiness. But the most insidious consequence is the loss of self. When ambition becomes your identity, failure is not just a setback, it's an existential threat. You are no longer a person. You are a resume, a brand, a collection of achievements. And when those achievements falter, the ground beneath you crumbles. This is why so many high achievers describe feeling like imposters. They know, deep down, that their success is a mask, one that could slip at any moment. The psychological term for this is contingent self-worth, the belief that your value as a person depends on external validation. Studies have shown that people with contingent self-worth are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and relationship difficulties. They are also more prone to burnout because their sense of self is tied to an endless cycle of achievement. And then there are the relational costs. Ambition thrives on competition, but competition is the enemy of connection. How many friendships have withered because one person's success triggered the other's insecurity? How many marriages have fractured under the weight of unmet expectations? Ambition turns love into a transaction, where affection is conditional on achievement. Children, too, are collateral damage. The pressure to succeed is passed down like a genetic curse. Parents, driven by their own unmet ambitions, push their children to excel, in school, in sports, in life. But what happens when a child's worth is tied to their performance? They learn to equate love with achievement, setting the stage for a lifetime of striving and self-doubt. On a societal level, the consequences are even more profound. Ambition fuels inequality, as the relentless pursuit of success creates winners and losers. The winners, perched at the top, often justify their position by claiming they earned it. But this ignores the systemic advantages, wealth, privilege, and opportunity that made their success possible. The losers, meanwhile, are left to internalize their failure, blaming themselves for not being ambitious enough. This creates a culture of scarcity, where success is seen as a finite resource. If someone else succeeds, it means there's less for you. This mindset breeds envy, resentment, and division. It turns communities into battlegrounds, where collaboration is replaced by competition. And then there's the environmental cost. Ambition, in its most destructive form, is a force of extraction. It takes from the earth, from others, and from the future. The relentless drive for growth, whether in business, technology, or personal achievement, has brought us to the brink of ecological collapse. We are cutting down forests, draining rivers, and polluting the air, all in the name of progress. But what kind of progress is this? The unseen consequences of ambition are not just individual, they are collective. They shape the world we live in, from the way we work to the way we relate to one another. They are the silent architects of our modern dystopia, a world where success is measured in metrics, not meaning. But here's the paradox. The more we chase ambition, the more it eludes us. The higher we climb, the emptier we feel. This is not a flaw in the system. It's the system itself. Ambition, as we've constructed it, is a zero-sum game. There is no finish line, no final victory. There is only the next goal, the next mountain, the next hollow triumph. So how do we break free? How do we reclaim our humanity from the jaws of ambition? The answer lies not in abandoning ambition, but in redefining it. It lies in a radical shift, one that challenges everything we've been taught about success, worth, and meaning. But before we can explore that shift, we must confront the most dangerous consequence of all, the way ambition distorts our perception of reality. It convinces us that the chase is noble, the sacrifice is necessary, the emptiness inevitable. It makes us complicit in our own destruction. The question, then, is not whether ambition is good or bad. It's whether we are willing to see it for what it truly is, a force that can either elevate or destroy us, depending on how we wield it. Imagine a prisoner who has spent years carving a tunnel to freedom, only to realize the door to their cell was never locked. This is the revelation that awaits those who dare to question the tyranny of ambition. The chains are not external, they are forged in the mind. And the key to breaking them lies not in striving harder, but in seeing differently. The rebellion begins with a simple, yet radical act, questioning the narrative of success. From birth, we are fed a story, a linear, upward trajectory where happiness is the reward for achievement. But what if this story is a lie? What if success, as we've defined it, is not the path to fulfillment, but the obstacle? To break free, we must first dismantle the myths that sustain ambition's grip. Myth 1: achievement equals worth. This is the cornerstone of ambition's power, the belief that your value as a person is tied to what you accomplish. But consider this: a tree does not need to bear fruit to be worthy of existence. It simply is. So are you. Your worth is not contingent on your productivity, your title, or your bank account. It is inherent, unshakable, and unchanging. The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "The meaning of life is just to be alive." It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet everybody rushes around in a great panic, as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. To rebel against ambition is to reclaim this truth, to stop rushing and start being. Myth 2: more is better. Ambition thrives on the illusion of scarcity, the idea that there's never enough money, enough status, enough success. But this is a trap. The pursuit of more is infinite. It can never be satisfied. The antidote is not to achieve more, but to desire less. This is not a call to abandon goals, but to pursue them with detachment. The ancient Stoics understood this well. They taught that while we cannot control outcomes, we can control our intentions. Focus on the process, not the prize. Find joy in the doing, not the having. Myth 3: rest is laziness. In a culture that glorifies hustle, rest is seen as a sin. But rest is not laziness, it is resistance. It is a declaration that your worth is not tied to your output. It is an act of reclaiming your humanity. Audre Lorde, the poet and activist, wrote, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare." To rest is to wage war against the system that demands your exhaustion. It is to say, "I am not a machine, I am a person." But breaking free from ambition requires more than myth-busting. It requires a shift in identity. Step 1: redefine success. What if success were not a destination but a way of being? What if it were measured not by external achievements but by internal alignment, by how deeply you live in harmony with your values, your passions, and your humanity? This is the essence of Viktor Frankl's philosophy. Success, like happiness, cannot be pursued, it must ensue. When you align your actions with your deepest values, success becomes a byproduct, not a goal. Step 2: embrace imperfection. Ambition demands perfection, but perfection is a prison. To rebel is to embrace your flaws, your failures, and your humanity. It is to say, "I am enough, not despite my imperfections, but because of them." The Japanese concept of wabi-sabi celebrates the beauty of imperfection. A cracked teacup, a weathered stone, a gnarled tree, these are not flaws but marks of character. So too are your scars, your mistakes, and your vulnerabilities. Step 3: cultivate stillness. In a world that never stops moving, stillness is revolutionary. It is in stillness that we hear the whispers of our true selves, the parts of us that ambition has silenced. Meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in silence can be acts of rebellion. They are ways of saying, "I refuse to be defined by my productivity. I choose to exist simply and fully in this moment." Step 4: build a new narrative. The stories we tell ourselves shape our reality. If the old narrative is one of striving and scarcity, the new narrative must be one of sufficiency and connection. Write your own story. Define success on your terms. Celebrate small victories, not because they lead to something greater, but because they are enough. History is filled with rebels who dared to redefine ambition. Henry David Thoreau left the hustle of society to live deliberately in the woods. Frida Kahlo turned her pain into art, not for fame, but for self-expression. These were not acts of resignation, but of reclamation. They were declarations that life is not a race to be won, but a gift to be savored. But the ultimate rebellion is not against ambition itself, but against the idea that it defines you. You are not your achievements. You are not your failures. You are not the sum of your ambitions. You are a being, vast and infinite, capable of both striving and stillness, success and surrender. The chains are not locked. The door is open. All that remains is to step through. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the horizon stretching endlessly before you. The waves crash against the shore, each one a fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of existence. You've spent your life building sandcastles, towering, intricate, beautiful, only to watch them be swept away by the tide. You've chased the illusion of permanence, the belief that if you build high enough, fast enough, well enough, you can outrun the waves. But here's the truth. The ocean is not your enemy. It is your mirror. The ultimate realization is this: ambition is not the problem. Attachment to ambition is. This is the paradox at the heart of human striving. Ambition, in its purest form, is a force of creation. It builds civilizations, cures diseases, and composes symphonies. But when we attach our sense of self to our ambitions, we turn a tool into a tyrant. We mistake the sandcastle for the shore, the wave for the ocean. The ancient Buddhist concept of non-attachment offers a profound insight. Non-attachment does not mean renouncing ambition. It means releasing the grip of expectation. It is the understanding that the value of an action lies not in its outcome, but in its intention. You can strive without being strangled by the need to succeed. You can build without fearing the tide. This is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita's teaching. You have the right to work, but never to the fruit of work. Act, but do not cling. Create, but do not hoard. Live, but do not fear the end. The final, most powerful realization is that you are not the architect of your life. You are the witness. You do not control the waves, but you can choose how to surf them. You do not control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. This is not a call to passivity, but to presence. It is an invitation to live fully in the moment, to embrace the beauty of impermanence, and to find freedom in the act of letting go. Consider the life of Leonardo da Vinci, one of history's most ambitious minds. He painted masterpieces, engineered inventions, and explored the mysteries of anatomy. Yet, he left many of his works unfinished. Was this a failure? Or was it a testament to his understanding that the process, not the product, is where meaning resides? Or take the story of John Cage, the composer who embraced silence as music. His piece 433 consists of 4 minutes and 33 seconds of no sound at all. It was not a rejection of ambition, but a redefinition of it. Cage challenged the audience to find meaning in the absence of noise, to hear the music of existence itself. This is the ultimate rebellion, to find fulfillment not in the accumulation of achievements, but in the act of being. To see ambition as a river, not a prison, a force that can carry you forward without drowning you. And here's the most radical truth of all. You are already enough. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. You are a spark of the infinite, a note in the symphony of existence. Your worth is not something you earn, it is something you remember. So stand at the edge of the ocean, watch the waves, build your sandcastles, not because they will last, but because the act of building brings you joy. And when the tide comes, let it come. The ocean is not your enemy. It is your mirror, reflecting the vastness within you. The journey of ambition is not a ladder to climb, but a dance to join. The music is already playing. All you have to do is listen.